Spark Infinity. How you doing out there? How are things going? Hope you're having a great day. We've been having some technical challenges today, so I'm not sure if this is streaming into our Facebook group or not, but it is for sure streaming to my profile on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Make sure to go and find the group, davidandrewweeb.com/sparkinfinityfb, or just go to Facebook and look for Spark Infinity. I look forward to spotlighting you, your music, your creativity, your business, whatever it is you're up to in the world. I look forward to taking you live and having a great conversation with you, because that's one of the reasons this whole thing exists. All right. And if you happen to be watching elsewhere, I just found out the other day, I didn't really know, but I think with all the technologies that I'd implemented in the past with content distribution and such, this stream isn't just going to those two or three locations. It's actually going to my other older Facebook page on Music Entrepreneur HQ, which is actually great because this is still very, very relevant. Everything that we're doing here is still very much relevant to my old Music Entrepreneur HQ days. Now, as I continue to as I continue my read through of my first book, The New Music Industry, today's topic, as well as yesterday's topic, was on radio. And so I had an inquiry, and it's really worth. There's a couple of things you should know about. Like, I can still help you with your radio campaign if that is something you are looking to do. So that's number one. If you're looking to do an independent radio campaign, I can help you with that. But a really, really important thing worth mentioning, though, is that this book, it's not my latest book. It's my first book. I've actually published 11 books. This one was published in 2015. So the information in here is not completely up to date. The way we would go about, or I would go about, and with my team's help, radio promotion today is not the same as it was back then. We would still typically fill 200 envelopes with CDs and then send them off to radio stations. That part hasn't really changed, but then there's additional layers we would add on top of that to help artists get more attention and more exposure and more play on different locations. Like, as you probably know, the proliferation of radio is not really limited to radio itself, as in like AM and FM bands frequencies, but also internet radio, and of course streaming. And some of those, there's not a fine line. The lines kind of blur with the different types of radio formats that exist out there. So, but the point is, there's just way more opportunities than ever before to get your music plays. And so my approach and what I've detailed in this book is a good starting point, but this information is not completely up to date. It's from 2015. So the way I would approach it today is a little bit different than what's in here. Another thing, I don't know. I've been thinking about whether to rant about this or not, and maybe I will for just a second or just a couple of minutes. I don't want to go on and on about this. I see some funny comments on Facebook sometimes. Like, I have helped artists with a variety of different tasks, whether it's producing their music or playing guitar on their album or even live, independent radio campaigns, independent social media campaigns. We had a very, very successful independent crowdfunding campaign There's always upsides and downsides at the end of the day. Like, you got to define success, of course, what that means in those situations. And we always do. And we always reach and exceed what we hope to when we actually take those types of projects on. But I sometimes see comments, especially in places like Facebook, like, oh, are you sure you want to go with him? Like, this producer over here has got all these industry connections. And sorry, like, I really have to cringe when I see comments like that because, and I'm not, I tend to be a pretty humble guy. I'm not about bragging. I'm not really about self promotion. And that's not why Spark Infinity exists at all. But I've been having conversations in the music industry since 2004. So you're not going to recognize all these names, but I'm going to mention a few. And again, I'm not here to name drop, but I've created connections with and have interviewed Derek Sivers, Tommy Tallarico, Riley Armstrong, Miles Copeland, manager of Sting, might be familiar with him. Rich Young, Lord Flat Frierson from Bad Boys Records, might have heard of him. And really, the list goes on. Uh, in the music industry, or let's say the music business or the music coaching space, Monica Strott, Bob Baker. Uh, I have not interviewed Rick Barker, but I did meet him in person. I met Simon Tam in person. I met Kevin Bruner in person. I met Dave Cool in person and interviewed him from Bandzoogle. And the list, this goes on. So it's not like I started this yesterday. This book may have been published in 2015, but I didn't start writing it in 2015. Okay. So say what you will. Say whatever you want about it. I don't care. But if you're pointing to me saying that guy doesn't have industry connections, I'm sorry to say, I have a pretty deep Rolodex and a pretty wide Rolodex of music industry connections. So just because we don't always get huge engagement on these streams or social media is not indicative of someone's depth of knowledge or connections or anything else for that matter. And this is going to explode. I already know it. We're on that path and we're cracking that eggshell. So that's my rant. That's all I want to say about that. I could go on and on, but there's no point. I want to deliver some value to you today, and that is the focus. So we're going to continue the read through of the new music industry. Whoops, dropped my bookmark there. And so this is part 2 of the chapter on radio. Radio campaigns. The most accessible and practical way of getting airplay as an independent artist is with the college market. CD Baby and Derek Sivers have already covered this topic extremely well, so I will summarize their main points here. What follows may not be the definitive guide, but based on my research, it is some of the best information available. Here's how to put together a college radio campaign. 1. Determine the number of mailings you want to send out. Anywhere from 100 to 500 packages seems to be common. Make sure to create a budget for the mailouts. 2. Send out one CD per station and make sure the cellophane wrapper is removed. And yes, do send them a professionally pressed CD and not an MP3 or a burned disc unless they request it. The little things will make a difference in the success of your campaign, so don't forget to practice professionalism. 3. Include your band's one sheet with the name of your band, contact information, URLs, band photo, album art, track listing, and a bio. Highlight the songs in your track list that you want the DJs to listen to, or radium, or program directors, as the case might be. 4. Make a list of the stations and programs you're going to mail your packages to. This list should ideally be made up of places you can realistically tour through 3 to 4 times per year. 5. Address your packages to radio programmers and DJs by name. Do not address them to Dear Sir, Madame, unless you absolutely have to. 6. Follow up with each station by phone or email in 2 weeks' time. 7. Ask if the station received your package, if they've listened to your music, and whether or not they are considering it for airplay. 8. Remember to keep communication succinct. If the station is not considering your music for their programming, you can ask why, but otherwise just say thank you and move on. Don't push the issue, don't negotiate, and don't get defensive. 9. Check back every few weeks Check back every few weeks with the station that have decided to play your music to continue to get played and develop relationships with the radio programmers. It couldn't hurt to build relationships with the stations that choose not to play your music either. Internet radio, satellite radio, and podcasts have their own unique submission guidelines, so make sure to observe their conduct rules for best results. Their guidelines usually appear on their websites. If you are looking for podcasts to submit your music to, you can search iTunes. As you are looking for shows to submit your music to, remember to search for podcasts that already have an independent focus and play the style of music you create. If you are looking for internet radio stations, search on sites like Live 365 or Shoutcast. Again, always look for shows that cater to your specific genre or style of music. Finally, remember to be tactful in your interactions. Always present yourself professionally. See if you can provide added value to the program directors. See if you can provide added value to the program directors you come in contact with, i.e., contests and or promotions. My experience with radio is not extensive, but I thought I would share what I've found with you. I recall initiating one small campaign, maybe 20 to 30 packages, after releasing my first solo album in 2006, which surprisingly got me some airplay within the province of Alberta, Canada. My first CD certainly wasn't my best, but fortunately I was able to appeal to the college market with it. This showed me that it is definitely possible to earn radio airplay, though you should take some time to research the stations you're sending your music to. It seems like common sense, but as much as possible, you should send your packages to programs that your music actually fits. I remember writing up handwritten notes with a Sharpie marker for each station I send a package to. That way, my packages would always have a personal touch, and radio stations would know right away that they weren't just getting a form letter or an unsolicited package. I'm not sure how effective this was, but ultimately, I don't think it hurt me any. Another thing I'd like to point out is that radio campaigns take a bit of determination and perseverance. In our day-to-day lives, it's easy to get distracted and forget to follow up. I have heard it said before that follow-up is the most important part of developing a relationship with prospects. And I think that to be the case with radio. It's not your job to be a pest, but you'll definitely want to follow up, and in some cases, keep in touch with the stations you contact. Otherwise, your package will have been in vain because the stations will assume that you just don't care. If you truly believe in your music, show them how strong your belief is. How to promote your music with radio. The basic formula for radio promotion was essentially outlined in the radio campaigns section. This how-to guide elaborates on these points in a little more detail. You should be aware that though you can initiate and handle all the campaign duties on your own, and that will likely be the cheapest way, there are also radio promotion companies like Brian Farish Marketing that can help you organize your promotional campaigns. By all accounts, I have heard that they are good at what they do, but their services do cost money. The do-it-yourself or DIY route may seem like the best way, though undoubtedly it will require more of your time and effort. You may have to make decisions based on budgetary constraints at first, but once the income starts flowing, you may want to consider enlisting the help of others. In the long run, you can accomplish a lot more when you have a team that is willing to help you. Here's how to promote your music with radio. 1. Define your goals. Whatever it is you want to accomplish with a radio promotion, make sure to start with an end goal in mind. Haphazardly sending out your music to hundreds of stations simply because you have a new album isn't going to take you very far. Moreover, it's going to end up costing you both time and money that could have been spent elsewhere. If you want radio promotion to complement your touring efforts, send your music to towns and cities that you know you're going to be performing at. If you play a specific genre of music, look for programs that actually play your style of music. Get specific. 2. Make a list of radio stations. Make a list of the stations that you're going to be sending your packages to. Don't mark down every station that you find. Just keep track of the ones that play your style of music. Keep detailed contact information for each, as you will need to follow up with them later. Keep this list for posterity, as you can always use it again for future campaigns. Also remember to target non-commercial stations primarily, unless you want to put a few feelers out with commercial radio. 3. Plan. Decide how many packages you're going to be sending out and create a budget for your campaign. Figure out whether or not you want to send out all of the packages at the same time. If so, keep in mind that you will have to make all your follow-up calls in one sitting as well. If you're going to stagger your mail-outs, make sure to keep meticulous notes, as you need to contact stations in a timely manner. Not too early before the CD arrives, and not too late after the package has been thrown into the trash bin. Leave a 2-week buffer before getting in touch. 4. Prepare your packages. Include an unwrapped CD and a one-sheet with your band photo, album artwork, bio, contact information, relevant links, and highlighted tracks in your campaign packages. Make sure to address your envelopes to a person and not to a station. Don't forget, even envelopes can be customized. You do not have to send out your packages in generic white or orange bubble mailers if you're eager to stand out. You will likely need a budget to have custom-made envelopes printed, but it is a great way to get the attention of radio stations and DJs. How you approach radio promotion also depends on the aesthetic of your band and your music. For example, if you're in a death metal band, a bloodied-looking envelope could prove interesting, but not real blood, please. Additionally, you could include a few smaller freebies in your mailer, stickers, buttons, postcards, etc. It is certainly not a requirement, and some stations will probably toss them out, but some will appreciate them. 5. Send out your packages. Once all of your packages are ready, it's time to send them out. If you haven't decided whether you're going to send them all at once or stagger their mail-out date, make sure to decide now. Again, if you have 500 mailings or more, you're going to have a lot of follow-up work to do on the back end, so keep things simple. If you want to spread out the work a bit, then stagger your mailings. 6. Follow up. After 2 weeks, remember to follow up with every radio station you've sent a package to. You can contact them by phone or email, but if they specifically mention their preferred contact method on their website, make sure to observe that. Don't call people who want to be emailed, and don't email people who want to be called. Once you get a hold of them, simply ask whether or not they are considering your music for Airplay, and if not, you should end the conversation quickly. You can ask why they're not interested in your music, but remember not to push the issue too much. Even if a particular station isn't interested in playing your music, you don't have to cross them off your list. You can try again with your next release, assuming they actually play your style of music and you fit their format. 7. Stay in touch. You can continue to build relationships with the stations and DJs who have chosen to play your music on air. This is a good thing to do because you will keep top of mind with the influencers and tastemakers of the industry. New opportunities might come your way. Even if not for that, you will continue to get played long after other artists. Even if not for that, you will continue to get played long after other artists who lost interest in maintaining relationships with the DJs. Conclusion. In coming years, it is possible that sites like YouTube or Pandora may take over as the primary music discovery tools. Till then, radio is still the best way to get your music heard by a larger audience and to get exposure for it. The challenge, of course, is in getting played on stations that people actually listen to. With commercial radio out of the picture, this can be a more challenging feat than it sounds. Then, your music has to be good enough for people to want to hear it again. People have to hear something to like it, and then they have to like it to want to buy it. This is the hear, like, buy formula that Andrew Dubber talked about in his ebook, The 20 Things You Must Know About Music Online. This blueprint is crucial to understand, especially as it pertains to radio airplay and, by extension, any other public placement, the mail, retail stores, etc. In other words, the immediate benefit of radio airplay may not necessarily be more album sales, though that is one of the implications. There are always other benefits, be it building awareness for your music or residual earnings from being played on the radio. One of the downsides of video sharing sites is that if a site like YouTube does become a more ubiquitous music discovery platform, it may become even harder for artists to get immediate and widespread exposure for their music like they have been with radio. An unbelievable number of videos are uploaded to YouTube every single day, and only a percentage of them ever become popular. However, my gut feeling, based on where things have been going, is that the continued growth of streaming sites and other music discovery platforms is going to scatter listeners across many different channels. Let's hope that distribution keeps up with demand. Fundamentally, you don't have to use radio to promote your music. Depending on your goals and what career path you intend to take, it may not be important to you. Only you can make that decision. What I like: interviews. Having been on the radio a couple times, I must say that in-studio interviews and performances are a lot of fun. If you've never done it before, I would definitely recommend finding community radio stations in your area that are interested in having you on. In my experience, some are even willing to fly by the seat of their pants. So you could try dropping in unannounced. Don't forget to be courteous and professional, however. Airplay. There's definitely something special about having your song played on the radio. I can't say that I've ever been listening to the radio at the exact moment my song was on air, but even just a note from a DJ letting you know that they are using your song in their programming is a cool feeling. It's even cooler when your song starts to connect with people. Podcasts. I have dedicated an entire chapter to the subject of podcasting in this guide already, so there isn't too much to say here. The great thing about podcasting is that not only can you license your music to be played on other podcasts, you can also create your own show to promote your music and your career activities. It's a powerful medium with a lot of potential for willing musicians. Internet radio. My music listening habits have changed considerably over time. I can remember listening to cassette tapes as a kid. Then CDs came out. Then Napster came along. Then music became all the more accessible on the internet. These days, I find myself listening to various electronic mixes on YouTube as I work, but I can also remember a time when I listened to internet radio quite a bit. I still think it's a pretty cool medium since you can find a lot of variety and specialty programming. Soma FM. Speaking of internet radio and streaming, this is probably my go-to place. Soma FM offers 20 channels of commercial-free, listener-supported, underground, and alternative radio from San Francisco. All the music they play is handpicked by their award-winning music directors and DJs. My favorite channel is Groove Salad, which features ambient and down-tempo beats and grooves. It's great for working and chilling out. Fiverr. Fiverr is a marketplace where providers offer a variety of different services for only $5. There is virtually no end to the ways in which a musician could take advantage of this platform to promote their music, and radio promotion is no exception. From people who will air your song on the radio to those who will play your ad on their show, you can find a variety of interesting offers on the site. Though you will likely want to do some research before paying for anyone's services, at the low cost of $5, you're bound to find some winning propositions. Even if some aren't, you could do a lot worse. What I don't like: marketing messages. Sometimes you just don't know how you got onto someone's mailing list. While I was still actively pursuing a career in music, I can remember getting regular email messages from radio promotion companies, and it really annoyed me after a while. Excuse me. In fact, I think I still get messages like that. Radio campaigns can be really expensive if you go through a promotion company to do it, and I simply didn't have the budget to work with. Them at the time. That didn't stop them from emailing me and calling me. However, I am certainly not advocating that you avoid these companies. They might actually be able to provide you with new opportunities. Just keep in mind that their campaigns aren't likely to be that much different from what you could do on your own. It's not like radio stations are hard to find. A promotion company could help you save some time and maybe even help you target stations you couldn't reach otherwise, but you will spend a pretty penny for it. Commercial radio. It's not that I dislike commercial radio because they don't play independent musicians, although that may be a part of it. I can remember a time, especially in the late 90s, when mainstream radio was still good, or at least decent. Top 40 music was tolerable, and sometimes it was even really good. However, that's not really the case anymore. The lyrical content found in modern hits is atrocious. Even if the beat or the groove is catchy, the overall message of the song is anything but meaningful, intelligent, or subtle. Action steps. Now you know the different steps of radio and how to orchestrate a radio campaign. When you are ready to act on the information provided here, remember to review this section. Decide. How important is radio promotion to you? Some careers in music are built on radio, while others are not. Some are built with a combination of different mediums. Any way you look at it, success in music is going to take hard work and effort. Radio may offer some advantages, but it may have some downsides too. If you are excited about the prospect of being on the radio, then it's a career choice that probably makes sense to you. If it doesn't get you fired up, it's entirely possible that you won't need the medium to make your dreams a reality. Moreover, independent artists can't do everything, especially when they are first getting started. Radio might be something you grow into. Understand the different types of radio. If radio promotion is something you want to explore further, make sure that you understand the different types of radio that were explained in this chapter. Your radio campaigns will be less effective if you approach them haphazardly. There has to be some planning and goal setting behind your efforts. Though you can always put some feelers out, targeting commercial radio stations isn't likely to be terribly worthwhile. You will have to find your opportunities in non-commercial radio. When you know the ins and outs of radio, you can make the most of your campaigns, which, by the way, do cost money. Make sure to create a budget for said campaigns. Understand the different types of opportunities. Airplay is just one facet of radio promotion. Keep in mind that there is more to radio than just getting your song played. You can advertise. You can schedule interviews. You can book in-studio performances. You might even be able to organize promotions and giveaways, co-host or record bumpers for the station. You may even be able to organize promotions and giveaways, co-host or record bumpers for the station. Remember to develop relationships with the DJs to find out if they would be interested in working on a promotion together. You want these people on your side. Plan and organize your campaigns. If you're going to mail out hundreds of packages to radio stations everywhere, you might as well make it worth your while. Follow up with each station that you send your package to and plan to tour through the towns and cities where the stations are located. And there you go. That's part 2 of the chapter on radio. Next, we'll be getting into music instruction, something I did for a good long while, over 10 years. Thanks for joining me today. I'm looking forward to our stream tonight with Mark Dixon. Make sure to be there, 6 p.m. PST. Ask questions, and drop things in the comments in the chat because we can see them, we can highlight them, and it makes the show all the more engaging and interactive. Okay, I will see you again soon, later tonight, Spark Infinity.